Thank you. Congresswoman Torres, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. And I just want to say to you that I welcome a separate hearing with witnesses who are a bit more directly involved in the situation, such as the U.S. ambassador to the UN, so that we can continue to have a more informed conversation around what is happening in Israel and in Gaza. I know I was supposed to travel with you last year to the area, and I finally went as a member of Congress to Israel. And unfortunately, one of the sites that we were supposed to see at the northern Lebanon border, we were not able to reach because it got bombed just hours before we arrived. So the situation there is still very tense. And, you know, we do need to have a conversation around that. Administrator Power, I'm going to go into the area of my expertise and, you know, my interest in the last 10 years since I've been in Congress. I'm tired of everything that has been happening with the sad, you know, issues of our children on our southern border, suffering from these hard leaders, for lack of a better word, in the Northern Triangle that are continue to push this population north. Most of them are indigenous populations, not to mention the issue of drugs coming into the U.S., being pushed by former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez. So, you know, enough is enough. Where are the opportunities for true partnership in the region, and how will U.S. aid ensure its programs in a Northern Triangle are effectively helping the people that we intend to help, which also includes working with nonprofit organizations directly in the region, that we are not telling them how to run their lives. I think that they know how to do that, and they know where to create opportunities for themselves. They just need an opportunity for support, not only from us, but from their own governments, most of all.
Well, Congresswoman, thank you. And I was just with Ambassador Thomas Greenfield earlier. I'll tell her you're interested in hearing from her as well. And I know she's due up here, I think, in May. But I do hope that we can bring a field perspective as well, just on the basis of all of the partners that we are supporting on the ground who are doing such brave work in Gaza. I think you and I had the chance to travel to one of the opportunities, which is Guatemala, where in an upset victory that very few expected, a person who ran on a platform of fighting corruption and reforming the politics and the economy of the country was, because of the engagement of young people and indigenous people, was elected. And I think we have learned a lot from democratic backsliding over the last 20 years, not just in the hemisphere, but around the world. And one of the lessons that we've learned is the importance of taking advantage of democratic openings, because they are so fleeting and sadly increasingly rare. So what we have sought to do is, as you know, work with the Arevalo team in transition, very specifically on the anti-corruption agenda that he has brought forward. We've heard from the private sector in the U.S. their excitement about engaging in Guatemala. I think the Vice President's initiative, the Partnership for Central America, has shown the return on the administration and the Congress's engagement with American companies to look at Northern Central America.
I have like 50 seconds. I'm going to stop you for a minute,
sorry.
just to include that I hope that we can find those same type of opportunities in Honduras. You know, there's been a lot of developments in recent months in Honduras, and I think that that is another area that we are seeing backsliding, and we cannot take our attention from the region. In the last 25 seconds that I have, I want to chime in on my great concern for Sudan and South Sudan. I was there 2 years ago at the onset of the Russian war on Ukraine. most of that grain was locked up and couldn't leave the region. I think I was texting you and everyone else that I could while in the region. I've never seen babies. I have at the time I had a 1-year-old grandson, and I saw a 5-year-old there that looked the same size as my grandson. And it was heartbreaking as a grandma. I don't want to see that either. So the rainy season is coming again. No one is talking about how do we do airlifts. I know the Mongolian government, when I was there, was present in providing some security to the women in the region and providing some food assistance, deliveries. So I hope to be able to get an update, a longer update from your office as to what more can we do from the committee to focus our attention on that.
I'd just say one thing in brief, which is first to thank Congresswoman Lee for, I think, traveling with Senator Booker and Congresswoman Jacobs to the Sudan-Chad border, and others. I think it was Congresswoman Frankel mentioned the paucity of attention to the food conditions in Sudan, which, as we've discussed, are horrific. There are also nearly, I mean, again, you're better to speak to this more recently than me, but I was there last year, nearly 1 million refugees from Sudan in Chad. And that makes Chad the 5th largest refugee hosting country in the world, but it has nothing to fall back on to house those people. And those are the lucky ones who got out of Darfur and got across the border. So Chad itself is facing a state of emergency for food insecurity, and now these communities are being asked to welcome people coming across. So it brings us back again to the importance of the National Security Supplemental, the fact that that is a misnomer, and that we would just ask the House to put us in a position at least to have the same resources we had last year, even though needs are spiraling, instead of having a 40% cut.
Thank you. Mr.